Okay guys, so in today's video, I want to tell you something very specific which allowed me to increase my number of pull-ups. I remember that it was about this time last year and I was at the park training pull-ups. At the time, I used to do a little bit of calisthenics because I remember balancing it out with the gym, with boxing, with running. So I used to do many activities all at once, which is not really ideal if you really want to make progress into one specific area. But not the point. The point is that I remember training pull-ups and doing a lot of sets. I've always done a lot of sets with calisthenics, mainly because in calisthenics you kind of need to, you know, do many sets if you want to build that endurance, which we're looking for. At the time, I never used to take my pull-up sets to failure. I was able to take push-ups to failure. I was able to take my dip to failure. I was able to, even when I was at the gym and I was, for example, doing my bench press, I remember taking it to failure all the time. But for some reason, any sort of pulling movement, for example, chin-ups, pull-ups, I remember not taking it all the way to failure. I remember always leaving my trainings very unsatisfied, especially when training pull-ups and chin-ups. So all these, body weight pulling movements. We make progress when we take at least the majority of our sets in our workouts to failure. And I remember at the time I could barely take any sets of pull-ups to failure because I always felt like I had some reps in reserve, but for some reason my hands were slipping out of the bar. And I then came to the realization that it was my grip. That's what was holding me back from going to doing 5, for example, pull-ups in a row, all the way to 10, 15 plus pull-ups in a row. I really vividly remember only being able to do 5 pull-ups in a row because on the last couple of pull-ups, my fingers were the only thing that was holding the bar, not my full hand. I didn't have the full grip on the bar, only my 2 fingers, sometimes even 3 fingers were holding the bar. And that made me realize that my grip was absolutely terrible and that if I wanted to take my sets of pull-ups to failure, and therefore if I wanted to increase my number of pull-ups, I had to train my grip. And in this video, guys, I want to tell you how I started training my grip for pull-ups and this specific, very specific exercise, which has been for me a lifesaver in terms of calisthenics, because now I can do 15 plus pull-ups in a row. I can finally do weighted pull-ups, and it's because I started training my grip strength. It's because I started to train myself holding the bar for a long time, and that allowed me to take my sets of pull-ups to failure. And because of that, it allowed me to be able to train pull-ups for longer, which meant increasing my number of pull-ups over time. The exercise that allowed me to improve my grip strength and therefore going from 5 pull-ups in a row to 15 plus was dead hangs. Now, dead hangs is basically when you hold onto a bar and you just stay still. You don't try and do a pull-up, you don't move, you just hang on the bar and you don't move for as long as you can. Okay, so now guys, I want to give you the specific exercises which I did. So exercise number 1, and I used to do this once, sometimes even twice a week, is 5 sets of dead hangs. And on each set, you're going to dead hang for as long as you can, and then you're going to rest for the same amount of time which you were dead hanging for. So let's say that on the first set you can hang for 60 seconds, well, you're going to rest for 60 seconds. Then on the second set, let's say that you can only hang for 45 seconds, you're going to rest for 45 seconds, and so on, and you're going to complete this for 5 sets. Now for exercise number 2, now you're going to only do 3 sets. And you're going to start off by doing those 3 sets, and you're going to start off by dead hanging for 30 seconds. Now, if you can complete those 3 sets with a dead hang of 30 seconds, next time that you're going to do this exercise, you're going to add 5 seconds. So you're going to do 35 seconds for 3 sets. And you're always going to rest for 1 minute. That resting time says the same. So let's say that now you can do 30 seconds, and maybe in a month, maybe you can do 3 sets of 1 minute each. And you're also going to be doing this 1 to 2 times a week. So guys, these were the 2 exercises which I used for the head hangs and which allowed me to improve my grip and therefore improve my number of pull-ups over time. Now you need to be patient. Your grip strength is not going to improve in 2 weeks, in 1 week, in not even in 3 weeks. It's going to take some time. I started doing these exercises a year ago. Now, of course, I saw improvements within the first month, within the first couple of months. But if you really want to see massive improvements, you need to wait a couple of years. Treat this like any other exercises in the gym. For example, if you can now bench press 60 kilos for 5 reps, you're not going to start bench pressing 100 kilos after a week, right? So treat this like any other exercise in the gym. And I'm telling you guys, if you are consistent with this, you're going to see a great difference in your grip strength and therefore in your number of pull-ups. Because you guys can probably relate to me as well. Like, how many times do you have a few pull-ups in reserve, but then you see your hands slowly, releasing the bar? So yeah, implement these exercises and you will see a great difference. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.